Hello, and welcome back to another episode, or should I say, the season finale of The Pilot Principle. This is the podcast where I take a look at just the first episode of a series, the pilot, and then use it to decide if we should watch the entire series. But not today. Today I am sitting back, reminiscing, because I am, that's, That's a lame dad joke for out of office for the summer, which just so happens to coincide with the 50th episode of the podcast. Before we get started, I want to say a big thank you to everybody who has pressed play, but an even bigger thanks to everybody who has subscribed, followed, and comes back weekly to listen to little old me. It is very, 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 very much appreciated. My friend actually told me, which I actually Googled to verify. Not that I don't trust them, but people do just be saying things. Anyway, my friend said that with releasing 50 episodes of The Pilot Principle, it actually puts me in the 11% of podcasts that reach 50 episodes in the entire world of podcasts, which there's a big number of podcasters out there, and apparently not many of them reach this far. So yes, Mile High Club, baby. Okay, enough of the sentiments. Let's run through how this episode is going to work. Basically, we're going to whiz through and categorize the 27 pilots I've talked about since January. 27 pilots sounds like a thing. Anyway, I've categorized the 27 pilots and they will be divided into these kind of vague sections. So the first one we have is shows that I quit after 2 episodes. Then we've got the shows I recommended but didn't actually finish the series of. We've got the shows that I watched based on the pilot and I had to push myself to finish because, Dios mío. And then we've got the shows that I watched all of the way through and would still recommend. And then if there is time, because I have no idea how long this episode is going to be, I will rank my top 5 pilots from series 1 of The Pilot Principle. Here's a cheeky hint for you so you can guess which ones are going to make the top 5 as you listen to this episode. 3 of them are British and 2 are Prime Video originals, which is actually kind of fascinating and telling. Couldn't tell you what it tells you, but it definitely tells you something. Elephant in the room, yes, I am a little bit under the weather, but no, I did not want to delay my break by pushing this episode back a week. And to be honest, it's actually concerning how many podcast episodes I've been sick for. But perhaps I'll be able to get a GP appointment and get that looked at under this new government. But I digress. Let's get into episode 50 / the series 1 roundup of The Pilot Principle. And we're quickly going to start with the shows that I don't really want to talk about because I didn't watch them after the pilot episode. The first was Reco, which was over on Disney Plus and is part of the MCU TV verse. And the synopsis for this was that Maya Lopez flees the criminal underworld of NYC after killing Kingpin. I just remember the pilot episode was very dull, and I am gratified to hear that not many people did actually like this series. Next, we have The Town, which was on BBC One, and it's from the creator Stephen Knight, who did The Peaky Blinders. And the synopsis for this one tells us 1981 Birmingham explodes, Dante is rescued from a riot, and a new world opens up. I did watch the second episode of this, and it just wasn't very interesting. I couldn't connect with the characters or where the story was trying to go. So, better to call it quits, even though it was only 6 episodes. Next, over on Netflix, we have a recent one, which is called A Man in Full. So an Atlanta tycoon facing bankruptcy fights his way back to the top. I will admit, I was a little bit intrigued to maybe keep going with the series, who starred I can't remember what his name is, but he was the main guy in The Newsroom, which is an Aaron Sorkin series and one of my favorite series. But yeah, I just couldn't quite get into the tycoonish American spoilt narcissistic millionaire thing. So skippity skip. Another recent one, which was Hierarchy, and this is a Korean drama / thriller, but actually it was kind of more like a drama. And it says the top 0.01% of students control law and order at Joseon High School, but a secretive transfer student chips a crack in their indomitable world. With this one, I think I wanted it to be more thriller than drama, and it ended up just seeming like it was going to veer towards being more of a high school drama. Of course, I could be wrong, but that's what I got from watching. I did watch 2 episodes, actually. I think I watched the pilot and then I watched half of the second episode, and then I was like, nah, Next was Clipped, and one of you guys actually recommended this to me. I am never taking your guys' recommendations ever again. I'm joking, but Clipped was on Disney Plus UK and FX in the States, I believe, and it was the scandalous story of LA's other basketball team based on ESPN's podcast The Sterling Affairs. This one kind of reminded me of A Man in Full, that sort of vulgarish, older white man in charge of things, but the way he does things is wrong. I'm sure he will get his comeuppance by the end, but do I want to watch him up until that point? Not really. Another one that I was kind of vaguely intrigued to see what happened in the end, but mostly because it's based on a true story. But you know what? I can actually just Google that. And finally, on the list of shows that I said no to after the pilot episode. Okay, right, okay. Listen. I'm not saying mistakes were made. No. I'm not saying mistakes were made because my job is but to humbly judge a series on its pilot. However, the final show that I DNF'd was Shogun. Yes, I can hear the roars of rage from over here. The synopsis for Shogun told us that destinies converge in Japan after a ship washes ashore in a poor fishing village. I did not like the pilot episode. I think it was just a bit dull, to be perfectly honest with you, and I don't know, I just wasn't interested. I wasn't interested, but I have heard so many good things about it. My sister watched it and really, really liked it, so I was a bit like, oh, should I? Should I have continued with that one? Because she and I have similar tastes. But you know what? No regrets is what it is. I haven't thought about it that much since I pressed remove from watch list. So is what it is. You never know. In a couple of years' time, I could be eating my hat, but not today. Okay, and those are the 6 shows. It's the 6 out of the 27 shows that I said no to. Blimey, that means I said yes to 21 shows since January. That's my bad, you guys, but listen, it's up to you. If a show sounds like it's your taste, watch 'em. If it doesn't sound like it's your taste, then that's okay, you know? We all have our shoguns in the room. Okay, let's move on to the 2 shows that I said I would give an open-minded continued try to, but kind of didn't. The first one is Eric over on Netflix, and the synopsis told us that Vincent's son Edgar has an idea for Good Day Sunshine's new puppet, but before he can convince his father, the boy disappears on the way to school. This one is the new Benedict or David Cumberbatch? No, that makes no sense. This is the new Benedict Cumberbatch thriller drama over on Netflix. And I did want to like this one, the sort of mystery, gritty 70s or 80s underworld of New York. And I did watch the second episode, but I didn't like Vincent enough to continue watching him do whatever it was he was doing. Was he trying to find his son? He kind of was. I mean, they hinted that his story could be a bit deeper and perhaps he had some mental health issues which could have come up and maybe featured into what happened to his son. But ultimately, it just wasn't very interesting, to be honest with you. Another one I could be wrong about, but we'll never know. And the second show was One Day, which is the complete opposite of Eric. And so One Day tells us that in 1988, on the eve of their graduation, Emma and Dexter meet for the first time. It's an evening of almost romance and a morning of missed opportunity. Everybody bawled their eyes out over this show, from what I can ascertain. It's funny because I actually really like the concept of 2 people meeting through time, even if there isn't necessarily a time travel aspect to the story. Do you know what? I think for me, neither of the 2 characters really pulled me in to really want to see more of them in episode 2 and beyond. So I didn't. And those are the 2 shows that I recommended or vaguely recommended and then just didn't. Which is a funny one because they could have very well have ended up on this next list. And these are the list of shows that I said I'd watch because of the pilot and did watch the entire series of, but they were a bit of a slog to get through. If you've been listening for a while, I'll give you a couple of seconds to guess what made its way onto this specific list. Okay, time's up. The first one on this list is True Detective Night Country. So 2 detectives tackle a missing person's case when 8 men vanish. Navarro convinces Danvers that the case is linked to a past murder. Jodie Foster stars. Now, I did find this one really intriguing, and I think I ended up watching it weekly, but there definitely were times where I just kept reaching for my phone because I couldn't quite get invested in the mystery. And then the end was just so dissatisfying, actually. That was another thing. The way it ended, there were a couple of like, not plot holes, but there was a supernatural element to it. Question mark? Like, was there? That was never really confirmed. Yeah, it was a bit of a slog. I'm glad I did watch it weekly. I don't think if it was something that was available for me to binge that I would have binged it, even if my version of binging, which is sometimes just watching one episode a day. The next thing that was a slog was Three Body Problem on Netflix. So, unsettling events put a group of brilliant friends on edge as a mystery unravels with origins tracing back to China during the Cultural Revolution. I really, really, really wanted to like Three Body Problem, and it was okay. I think the first half, as you were sort of getting an understanding of how everything was working, the game that wasn't a game but was actually a way to communicate with an interdimensional species that were coming to Earth was interesting. The countdown in the head was really intriguing, a bit creepy and scary. But towards the end, it kind of just, it felt like it was flailing. It felt like it was flailing towards the end, and then characters disappeared and then were given tasks that we couldn't quite decipher the real importance of. And this is coming back for a second series, which I will watch because I think the second series is going to somehow conclude it. I don't know. I feel like the series just wasn't rich enough. It wasn't giving us the chunky, meaty, scientific sci-fi weight that it should have done. And because of that, it ended up falling a bit flat very, very quickly. Another show that had a similar problem, but in a very different way, was Griselda on Netflix. And so Griselda is based on a true story, and the synopsis tells us that Griselda flees to Medellin from Miami to make a fresh start. With her sons and a hidden cachet in tow, she seizes a chance to establish her own business. I really, really enjoyed the first half. I want to say all bar the last 2 or 3 episodes of this. I think it just skipped a huge chunk of Griselda's changing mindset and how she got from, yeah, there was just a bit in the middle that it went from 0 to 100 really. And I think another episode could have solved a few of the problems that I had with this series, which is, like I said, there was just a big jump in her character and that felt like it came out of the blue. And then the ending as well just felt super, 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 super rushed. So I think, yeah, one more episode to just massage us towards the ending. Yep, I heard it, but it's too late. It's been said now. Would have been great. And then, okay, what else on the list? Okay, this is a tricky one. I really did like Mary and George. Let me read you the synopsis first. So, to change her family's fortunes, Mary Villiers convinces her son George to take action. Juliana Moore stars. That tells us nothing, but it is set in, oh, goodness gracious, it's quite a long and confusing history of the British monarchy. So I can't quite place what century we're in for Mary and George. My point is that I really liked the start of this series. I really like the dynamic of Mary, who is mother to George, and then she basically gets her son George to be part of the council towards the king and make him one of the king's boys. Let's just put it like that. She makes him one of the king's boys. And yeah, I mean, the last few episodes just really very quickly fell off. George became really entitled and forgot his roots, and I was personally very offended by that. After everything that his mother did for him, he still had the audacity to act like a little bitch. And I get it. He wants to be his own man, but like, if we all know his roots, you know, we all remember where he came from. And even with his political scheming, he just wasn't very good at it. Yeah, it just kind of fell off the wagon for the last few episodes. So I think the last 3 episodes, I really had to push myself to get through. But I got through it. That's the main thing. And then the final one on this list is a recent one, and that is Channel 4's Queenie. So the pilot synopsis tells us that Queenie is left shell-shocked when her long-term boyfriend, Tom, tells her they need a break. This is based on the best-selling novel by Candice Carty-Williams, and I believe I have watched the first 2 episodes. I do intend to finish it, which is why it's on this list and not the list of shows that I said I would continue and then didn't. I do intend to keep going. It's only half an hour. It's black. It's British. I don't not like it. However, for some reason, there's something that's just stopping me. Do you know what it is? It felt like everywhere I looked, people were talking about Queenie, and I don't handle that very well. When shows are popular, if I don't quickly watch it myself, I find it hard to block out the noise and other people's opinions, and I don't like other people's opinions. I just like my own opinion, especially when it comes to film and television and books. So I think that is possibly why I haven't gotten through Queenie yet. Yet is the operative word. I will do it. Hopefully by the time we get to season 2, but please, please, please don't quote me on that. And now it is time for a quick interlude as we take a look at film and TV beyond the pilot principle. Starting, of course, with books. And I'm very happy to say that I have finally finished reading This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El Motar and Max Gladstone. Not gonna lie to you, I think this book was just a little bit on the pretentious side for me. There was some very beautiful prose, but I think it just slightly tipped its way into the "but did you have to be that flowery with your words" fence. But glad to have read it, etc., etc. In terms of what I'm going to read next, I'm actually not sure. I have plans to curate myself a summer reading list. So something to really get me back into reading, because I feel like I've fallen off the wagon recently. I've just been a bit busy. All the books I've been reading of late haven't been phenomenal. And when you don't read a great book, or at least a good book or an enjoyable book, and then the same thing happens again and again and again, it can quite quickly put you off reading. So yeah, I'm curating, but follow me on socials to find out what it is I end up deciding to read next and for the summer. Now, in terms of film, I watched Axel F, which is the fourth Beverly Hills Cop movie, and this is, I want to say, 30 or 40 years after the original. Ooh, surely not. If it's 40 years after the if it's 40 years after the last film showed, then I don't know what to think about my age. Anyway, this sequel is set decades later. Axel F now has a child who is 32. So yeah, maybe it's set 30 years later. Anyway, not important. The movie wasn't great. Okay? It wasn't great. If you are not a fan of the Axel Foley Beverly Hills Cop series franchise, I would skip it because you won't like it. If you do like or have liked the Beverly Hills Cop franchise, I mean, just watch it for the nostalgia, isn't it? It was never going to win an Oscar. It's just to get Eddie Murphy back in our faces, back into acting, the same way his Candy Cane Lane movie sort of did for us. The next film I watched was Space Cadets, which also just was not good. But it wasn't not good in an Axel F way, it just wasn't good. Full stop. I mean, I did like the message of, if you just believe in yourself and follow your dreams, you can do anything. But I just don't think it's realistic to say that you can even go to space. I mean, apparently somebody described Space Cadets as Legally Blonde adjacent, which is insulting to Legally Blonde because Elle Woods was intelligent. She went to Harvard Law School. She got into Harvard Law School. She just wanted to be a wife and a mother to the guy whose name I can't remember, but played Alaric in The Vampire Diaries, if you didn't know. So yeah, she was smart. She thought outside of the box. She did the thing. She did the thing. Whereas Emma Roberts' character on Space Cadets, I think she was capable in her youth, but who's to say that would have sustained 10 years later? I would personally skip it if it's on your potential to be watch list. I mean, it made a half decent Sunday afternoon watch, but yeah, would not recommend. Now a quick whiz through the TV landscape, and I am still, slowly but surely, watching My Lady Jane over on Prime Video, and this is my lunchtime show, but because the episodes are a full 55 minutes and sometimes making my lunch takes a good 20 minutes, it takes me like a day or 2 days sometimes to get through each episode, but I am making my way through it. I am quite enjoying it, more so than I think the books. I kind of want to find what review I left on the books. I'm sure it's on my Goodreads somewhere, but yes, I am watching that. I haven't watched Scavenger's Reign in a little while, but that is also on the list. That's normally my dinner time show if I just need something to put on. And I'm wondering now if anybody else watches very specific types of programs at very specific times in the day, or if it's just me. Well, if you don't, I definitely recommend it. It's a good way to watch multiple things at the same time. I actually finished watching, to all you naysayers out there who say that Jen never finishes things, I finished watching the Responder Series 2 on BBC One. So the first series of the Responder was one of my favourite programmes of, I think, 2 years ago when it came out. And it stars Martin Freeman and I want to say Adeleo Adideo, who also stars in Supercell. Great program. The Responder is such a stressful show. It's so stressful. I had to basically binge it because I'd watched episode 1 and then it took me a while to get back to watching episode 2. But when I did start episode 2 this week, I think I watched episode 2 and then I watched 3, 4, and 5 all in one day because I was like, my heart cannot. My heart cannot with these characters who keep getting themselves into ridiculous situations. Love that it's set in Liverpool. Love a bit of regionality. Martin Freeman is great. I think by the end, I decided it's just a super dark comedy, like super dark, because you just have to laugh. Because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. And if you start crying, you won't stop. And those are words to live by. And with those words of wisdom out the way, don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter/X at Pilot Principal, and over on TikTok at A Writer of Sorts, so we can continue to discuss the latest in TV and film and books. It's the final countdown, people. We have gotten to the good stuff. So these are all the series that I finished and enjoyed from January to now. So that's the past 27 episodes, blimey, of the Pilot Principle. So in no order. So I'm just going to pick random ones off this list and just hope that, no, let's categorize it a bit. Okay, because I love a categorization. So let's start with, let's start with these two shows. Now, these two shows that I'm first going to speak about, they made for good lunchtime shows, family friendly, in the background, nothing to write home about. But at the same time, I would kind of recommend if you were in the mood for something just light and easy. Now, both of these shows were funnily enough shown over on Disney Plus UK. The first one was, drumroll, much obliged. The first one was Renegade Nell. So this one tells us that Nell Jackson, a highway woman with superpowers, confronts a plot against the Queen of England. This stars the woman from Derry Girls, whose name I cannot recall. This one is set in an alternate-ish kind of England. I liked the main character. They were easy enough to follow. You liked their story. Oh, it also stars, what's his name? Really like him. Adrian Lester. The next show on this list of, sure, why not put it on, is Artful Dodger. No, it wasn't called Artful Dodger. Was it called The Artful Dodger? I think it was, yeah. The Artful Dodger. So The Artful Dodger tells us that with a huge gambling debt coinciding with the return of Fagin, Dodger agrees to a final sting. This is kind of like an odd sequel to Oliver Twist, but The Artful Dodge, now lives in Australia and he started a new life for himself and he's a doctor and he falls in love with the mayor's daughter, who is a headstrong, obstinate girl who, wants to work in surgery, but of course she can't because she's a woman. I'm not gonna lie, the romance between the two of them, the tension, the enemies to lovers, I was here for it, completely here for it. Yeah, that was a really fun one. If I had to pick out of Renegade Nell and Artful Dodger, even though nobody's asking me to, I would recommend you go and watch The Artful Dodger. Okay, how do I divide up the rest of this list? Let's start with non-British. Yeah, let's start with the non-British ones. So the first one on the list of shows that I watched the entire way through was Avatar. Was it just called Avatar? No, I believe it was called The Last Airbender. Either way, The Last Airbender, which is the live action adaptation of Avatar The Last Airbender, the popular Nickelodeon series. So, in case you don't know what any of that means, I will just read you the synopsis, which tells us that an airbender comes to grips with his new reality as war erupts. A century later, a pair of water tribe siblings make a discovery that changes everything. This one is a very tricky one for anybody like me who is a die-hard, hardcore fan of the original animated series. It just lacked in a lot of areas, and I think a lot of things were crunched, not even necessarily for time, it seems. They just crunched it, but in a really weird way. I feel like we missed a lot of character and skill progression within the series. However, it did also do a lot of good things too, and the way they changed the story from the animated to the live action in certain ways works really well. Um, yeah, I really like seeing the bending, the costumes. I'm glad Uncle Iroh was still adorable and oh gosh, cried. Tears anytime anything sad happens to Iroh. Yeah, it was a good watch. I enjoyed myself and I loved the discussions about it and just sort of it reviving my absolute love and adoration for the original. Okay, what else is not British on this list? Let us. Oh, blimey, there's a lot of British things, aren't there? Okay, let's talk about Fallout. So, Fallout showed over on Prime Video, and it was based, or is, I should say, based on the best selling video of the same name. This post apocalyptic series follows a woman roaming the earth for the first time after being raised in a Fallout shelter. What I really liked about Fallout is that I had absolutely no idea what the bloody hell was going in the best way possible. Like, of course, I understood like the plots and the stories and the mission and, you know, where everybody was going and why they were trying to do it. But like, what happened to the world? What happened to the world? Why is this man a ghoul with no nose? Like, why was she born and raised in a fallout shelter? Why has Christianity become this sort of mercenary group? I have so many questions, but it was so intriguing. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was just randomly very gruesome and violent, which is kind of my thing. So yeah, I will definitely be watching series 2. That's all there is to say about Fallout. If you want to watch something a bit random, then watch Fallout. Right, the last, let's see, yeah. The last non-British thing on this list is, any guesses? Ooh, very close. Very close. But actually, it is Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So, John and Jane have never met, but they go from strangers to newlyweds overnight. We watch as they simultaneously navigate their relationship and their first mission. Mr. and Mrs. Smith was so fun. So fun. I loved the way that they did the series where it wasn't necessarily following John and Jane over a, let's say, a condensed period of time. I mean, time just moves. I have no idea how long we followed them for, but we followed them from mission to mission, in like different episodes, and as they navigated different points in their relationship. And I love the fact that their relationship in a way starts backwards. They have just met and they have just gotten married. But then we watch as they almost do a reverse. So the more they know each other, the more that they want to divorce or something like that. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but it was a good interplay between their technical skills and their relationship skills, for lack of a better term. Yeah, so much fun. I think both the actors worked really well together. You can really believe their dynamic and their chemistry as professionals and as a couple. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with series 2. I think there is going to be a series 2. Not quite sure what they're going to do with it, but I am very excited to see what happens. Right, let's move on to jolly old England. Well, I'm already there, so I wouldn't recommend joining us. It's July and I got caught in a rainstorm yesterday, so that's something. What should we start with? Ooh, okay, let's just go with The Gentleman. Yeah, The Gentleman. So when the Duke of Holstead dies, his second son inherits everything, including the title, house, and ground, plus a whole heap of trouble. Spoiler alert, that trouble is weed. So this one is based off of the, oh God, what's his name? Guy Ritchie movie of the same name, but the Guy Ritchie movie stars Matthew McConaughey, whereas this one stars tall British guy. I think he played the character of Four in the Divergent series, which I haven't watched, but I have read. We should start taking shots for every time I name drop that I've read a book. This will be a very different kind of podcast. Anyway, that guy plays the lead instead. So I don't believe the two, as in the film and the series, are actually connected. The series was absolutely wild. The characters just completely go rogue. It's nuts. Each day brought a new set of trouble for the new Duke of Holstead, whose name I do not remember, Lord something of the other, as he inherits his business that he doesn't really want, but he's low-key, high-key, quite good at running. And it's also got Kaya, last name I can't pronounce because I can't remember it, who used to be on Skins, but was also on, got another, another, another teen trilogy book series that was adapted into a movie series, which, yes, I watched. The Maze Runner, that's the one. Anyway, really enjoyable, absolutely nuts. I love when, British television goes outside of the box and doesn't just do police dramas, and this is definitely that. So, yeah, I mean, it's a good old ride. Will it win any Oscars? No, thank goodness. But will you enjoy yourself as you watch it? Hopefully. Let's stick with the theme of not a police drama while we're at it, and let's next talk about Domino Day. Old BBC Three's Domino Day. Lone witch Domino Day dates to feed, but is soon tracked by a mysterious local coven. This one was just a good, simple, easy, quick, intriguing watch. There. All the synonyms, all the descriptive words. If you like supernatural dramas, I would say go ahead and watch it. It's, I think, 6 episodes based in Manchester. It's not something I've seen before in sort of the British television landscape. I haven't watched that, what's it called, Being Human? I kind of want to say it's kind of like Being Human, but that's based on nothing, except for the fact that I think Being Human is a bit lighter. Do you know what? Ignore everything I said. I've never seen Being Human. But you know what? If you have seen Being Human, maybe you should watch Domino Day. Yeah, there you go. Another recommendation for you. Okay, what else was not a police drama? Keeping things fantastical. The next thing on the list is a very recent watch. Was it my last watch? No, it wasn't. It was my second to last watch. And that is Supercell over on Netflix. So when Michael develops the ability to teleport, he must find others with superpowers to help him protect the future. When I tell you, this series had me in a chokehold for 3 days as I binged it. I binged it. That's my version of binging 3 days. I don't do that one day nonsense. That's insane. Yes, this had me in a chokehold. It was fresh. It was inventive. It played with perception and perspective. The way that the characters intersected and interconnected over the course of the series was great. 6 episodes. Binged it. Was it 6? Might have been 8. Either way, binged it. It was delicious. I'm still out here quoting lines. My favorite line to quote from this series is, "Tell your mom I said wagwan. If you know, you know." I would highly, highly, highly recommend going to watch Supercell. What's really good about Supercell is it's what would actually happen if you got superpowers? Personal gain. Personal gain shit would happen if you got superpowers. I don't know about you, but if I got, super speed, I wouldn't be running to help people out of burning buildings. I'm not saying I wouldn't. I'm not saying I'd run straight past a burning building and not help people trapped inside. But, that's just on my way to New York. That's just on my way to Bali. That just happens to be on my way to Bora Bora, where I don't have to pay for flights and I can just be enjoying myself. That's what I'm doing. And that's what these people are doing too. So yes, really enjoyable. Everybody's absolutely gunning for a second series of Supercell, and I am gunning along with them. So Netflix, Rapman, whichever one of you two are listening to this podcast, if not both. Yeah, series 2 of Supercell, please. And if you need a writer, I'm available. Oh, this list is really coming together quite organically. So I'm going to do the next 2, which are kind of based on teenagers. Now, if there's one thing you should know about me at this point, or if you don't know this about me, then this is a little something about me. I don't really like books or films or TV series or anything really that is based around teenagers and high school and that kind of drama. There is, of course, an exception to that rule, and that is if they have something else going on, aka solving a mystery or just living life, or it's a bit more gritty and less, oh my god, that boy doesn't like me. Okay, I hate my mom, she won't let me borrow the car this weekend. Where? I don't know why the accent went American there, but it happened. So yes, these 2 next shows are mostly based around teenagers, and the first one is my last pilot review. And yes, technically I have not finished watching this series yet, but I do intend to, and I just had some other things I wanted to tick off the list before I got to it. But I am, of course, talking about A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So Holly Jackson's hit mystery. A schoolgirl is killed by her boyfriend. Case closed. Right? Yes. This is another one where I have in fact read the book. Absolutely loved, devoured, still think about the book series. It's 3 books. Technically, there's a prequel, but, you know, for all intents and purposes, it's a trilogy. Great series. I've watched episode 1 and done a pilot review on, so definitely go and listen to that to see what my thoughts were on episode 1, minus some of the biased opinions I might have, but also including some of the biased opinions that I have. I like that this is small town. I'm quite interested to see how the adaptation will fare from book to screen. Yeah, and you know, it's set in the summer holidays, so it's not about school and boys from what I know of the book anyway. So that's another reason I'm definitely drawn to the series and will indeed be watching it. I think this one's available over on BBC/BBC3/BBC iPlayer. And then the next teen-related drama that I have is one that actually surprised me, and that is The Gathering, which showed over on Channel 4. And the synopsis very simply tells us that the rivalry between gymnasts, Kelly and Jessica, turned toxic. I love that on the surface, this feels like a mystery about who potentially murdered this teenage girl. But if you just dive just a little bit deeper, it's about class, it's about skill, it's about talent, it's about being a kid and not having the best parents and how you deal with that and how you find your own voice. And I think this is a really special program that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about. And yeah, it's one that I'm just gonna keep talking about and hoping that people go and watch. It's also set in Liverpool. Oh, and also, because I mentioned what did I mention that was set in Liverpool? The Responder is set in Liverpool. The Gathering is set in Liverpool. And both star Mark Warren. Mark Warren? Oh, I don't think that's his name. Warren Brown. Warren Brown? He was on Luther. That's... if that helps you narrow it down at all. Yeah, great show, The Gathering. Okay, right. What do we do next? Also want to make sure that I've covered everything because I've decided to go rogue and not read things in the nice, neat, orderly, alphabetical list that I wrote for myself. Okay, yeah, let's move on to, so the rest are police dramas. Actually, not the first one. The first one technically does feature police, but it's less police drama. So let's ease into the policeness of these dramas. So the first one that we have is 2024's very first pilot watch and pilot review, and that is Fool Me Once. Maya attends the funeral of her murdered husband Joe at his family's stately home, then thinks she sees him days later on a hidden nanny cam. Girl, when I tell you that I live for these Harlan Coben mysteries, they are providing me with oxygen. The thing about them is that, yes, they can be incredibly ridiculous, but they are so Moorish. They just know how to grip an audience universally. These mysteries aren't overly smart, but they also don't treat you like you're stupid. It's such a good watch. And I think I've seen all of them now. I think I've seen all the British Harlan Coben ex Netflix shows that he's done. He's got another one coming out soon that I have the book of. Wow, I have a problem, don't I? I have a problem. I have the book of his next Netflix adaptation that I want to read before the series comes out because I'm quite curious to see how the two translate, but I digress. Fool Me Once, this one stars Michelle Keegan, and this one also stars Richard Armitage. And the reason I'm so excited about that is because I can segue really nicely over onto the next pilot series that I watched in full in the police drama category, and that is Red Eye. So Red Eye is about a British man who gets caught up in an incident in Beijing, and upon his return, he's accused of foul play. Now he must go back to China to face his crimes. And said he is played by Richard Armitage. Haha. It's almost like I planned that one, but I really, really did not. This one was really cool because I like that it was set on a plane. I know it's silly. I know it's silly to have it set on a plane. Not all of it was set on a plane, but things are happening up in the air and things are happening down, in an office, MI5, MI6, CIA, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I just liked that it was quite inventive and clever. And it's like a closed room mystery. So people on the plane are dying, and somebody on the plane must be murdering them. And the question is who? Yeah, really enjoyed that. Really easy to watch and become engaged with. And did I guess who done it? No, I didn't. I actually didn't guess who done it. This was quite a well-folded mystery. So yeah, I commend it considering it's ITV. Oh, yep, I said it. And I say that with love and a pinch of hard truths, but mostly love, because the next police drama, British police drama, that I completely watched on this list after recommended the pilot episode was After the Flood. So after discovering a body in the wake of a devastating flood, PC Joe Marshall investigates the man's possible murder. Why was this series so good? Gosh, that is such a good question. Do you know what it is? I think the mystery of the drowned man who didn't drown in the flood but was, killed beforehand, and the flood was used to cover it up. And having all these characters that we meet trying to work out how they could possibly be involved with a crime, either the crime of this discovered body or anything else going on. I think it plays a lot with morals, what is right, what is wrong, and corruption, all within this teeny tiny Yorkshire town. Like, what? It was so surprising. People you thought you could trust, you couldn't. People you knew you shouldn't trust actually came through. Yeah, this was a really interesting watch, and I think this is also coming up a second series, and I will be there with bells on. Okie dokie. The last show that I watched in full and enjoyed after recommending the pilot episode is The Red King, and this was a British police drama that aired on Alibi. And this one tells us that Anjali Mohindra stars in this mystery thriller combining a powerful story of a police investigation with a chilling horror story of an island's eerie past. What I really liked about this was how creepy it was. The whole island folklore mystery, and then you had the main character, Anjali Mohindra's main character, whose name I don't remember. Her moral standing, I think, played a huge part and added a whole lot of gravity and weight to all the decisions that were being made. And at times the main character was a little bit irritating, but actually you kind of just admired that she stuck to her guns and to her morals incredibly well. And it just meant that whenever she made certain decisions, you knew whether or not she was telling the truth or not, because you've got to know her character so well. Also, what I liked about this, and it's the same thing with most small town places, is you think you know who you can trust, but actually you can't trust anybody. Everybody's got their own little secrets. The idea of the Red King and the true way, which is the folklore that is believed on this island, I think was a really interesting addition, as well as the setup to all of it as well, and to how the main character, the police officer, gets onto the island. This is another one not set in London, which I know I keep saying, but I'm just finding quite interesting that the police dramas that I've so far favoured aren't set in London. I can't tell you what that means or what that says about me. Actually, no, I can tell you what it means. It just means that we need more regional shows in the UK. Not everything being so London centric, but obviously by what I've said, is anything London centric? Were any of these set in London? They really weren't, and that's a good thing. So let's continue. What it's saying is that the regional direction, or the press towards regionality in television that was first instigated and pushed years ago, is coming to fruition, and it's working. I knew I had something smart to say. I knew it. All right, and that was a big old look back at the 27 pilot reviews that I have done since January 2024, leading up to the end of series 1 of The Pilot Principle and the 50th episode. Whoop whoop! Now, as this episode has been going on for so long, you know what? Let's make it go on for just a little bit longer. I'm going to tell you the top 5 pilots and subsequently series that I watched for the Pilot Principle. So yes, give yourselves a second there to think after everything I've said what's going to make it onto the list. Do you know what? Yes, screw it. Let's do it in order. Okay, so in the 5th position is After the Flood, and that is the ITV1 drama that I just discussed, based up in Yorkshire. The second, no, that makes no sense. The fourth, in 4th place, is actually one that I haven't talked about in this episode because I watched it during the first half of this season of The Pilot Principle. And if you have been listening from day one, you know exactly what show this is going to be. Sorry, not sorry, but in 4th place is Gen V. So this is on Prime Video, and it's a spin-off of the series The Boys, which, spoiler alert, could not stand, had to DNF it after series 1. And this is set in the fictional Godolphin University and tells a story of kids with superpowers and how they deal with that, and it is gory and violent and fun. Yeah, great stuff. Right, in third place, we have Supercell, the recent Netflix release based on what happens when a group of people who all live in South London get superpowers. Great show. Had me in a chokehold. In second place, we have Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I know this might sound surprising to some of you, but I did really enjoy it. I think not only was it a good piece of story, it was a really good piece of television. And I'm talking like the cinematography, the writing, the directing, the characters, the character development. I think all of that structurally was done very, very well. Which leaves us with the number one position for series one of The Pilot Principle. And that show is, pause for dramatic effect, The Gathering. I know. None of you had that written down, did you? I can't tell you why it really stayed with me. The characters, I think, were just so vibrant and the acting was done really well. Again, I liked the edge of regionality to it, the inclusion of gymnastics, the idea of class and the shadow of your parents and how that can lead you to be in the darkness or to step away and be in the light and the difficulty with those decisions. Yeah, it was a great show. It had oodles of twists and turns. Oodles. Remember, if you liked the sound of any of the shows that I mentioned in today's episode, then they are, of course, yours for the listening. I might be going on summer vacation, but the episodes are staying in place. So yeah, I mean, that's it, fellas. That's season one of The Pilot Principle wrapped. So yes, thank you so much for... Oh, sorry, what's that? What? You wanna know how I'm gonna be spending my summer vacation? You sure? I mean, okay. If you insist, I'm just gonna wrap up, but okay, let's do it. So in terms of books, my plan is to hopefully read 6 books this summer. As I said, I'm curating myself a little list. Don't know what's going to be on it yet because I'm a mood reader, but I am in the mood for something good. So if you've got any recommendations of books that you like or you think I'll like, let me know. In terms of film, I will be doing a summer film challenge, which I will be posting on my TikTok, just for funsies. Again, the idea is just to watch 6 films this summer. I mean, if I can watch more, that'd be great. But, I'm not trying to stress myself out. I'm trying to relax, people. I'm trying to relax in these summer streets. So, yeah, I'm going to do a cheeky little challenge. If anybody wants to join along with the summer film challenge, like I said, check the old TikTok for when that drops, which might be this week or next week. Haven't quite decided. And then finally, in terms of television, there's a few bits actually coming out over the summer. So the new series of Cobra Kai drops on Netflix, as does the new series of The Umbrella Academy, also on Netflix. Just going to wing it and just see what new shows there are, watch a couple of pilots, which I'll try and keep you updated on over on social media things. And yeah, just sit back, relax, and just watch some television. However, what I will say is that there are a few TV pilot anniversaries coming up, so I might do some summer specials, but literally, please do not hold me to it. The shades are already going on and the umbrella's going up because England, I'm out of here. I'm out of here, people. You can follow me on the social medias where I'll be posting a bit here and there on film, TV, and books. So that is at Pilot Principle on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter/X, and at A Writer of Sorts on TikTok. Most importantly, follow The Pilot Principle on your audio streamer of choice so you know when season 2 begins, because I really haven't decided on when that will be, but do not worry, I will be back before September ends. Aww.